Hello, and welcome back to an episode of the USL Show. It is great to be back after an incredible week. There's been a lot of fun action across League Two, W League, and we have a whole lot to get into with the Super League as the playoffs come down to the final match. 2 matches to decide it all. League One was a ton of fun. The Double Birds are on a winning streak. And hey, in the championship, we got some fun races, some fun matches, a whole lot to do, a whole lot of good stuff. But most important, Alex, how are you?
Yeah, doing well. That was a great interview we just saw.
Yeah, Amanda's awesome. She's the best.
Well
If
done.
you're someone who is podcast only, who didn't hear the interview, go listen to the interview because the people who watched it live first, they just saw that before you're listening to this. So check that out. Ryan, you look wonderful in your USL shirt.
Yeah, thank you. It's isn't it amazing that all of our English clubs won a trophy this year? It just makes the entire sport that much better. And I wanted to at least mention that for the first time in 17 years.
Except for Alex. Sorry, Alex. We basically had the USL show Equinox where the Cubs and the Reds played against each other on the same week that Liverpool, Crystal Palace, and Tottenham all won a trophy. So other than Alex, who you're just kind of over there. Oh, are you a Liverpool? Never mind. Never mind. You're involved. You're involved. So yeah,
Not really. My neighbors got divorced, and the one who stayed, the ex-wife, stayed in the house and gave me her ex-husband's Christmas presents, which were Liverpool gear.
Incredible. I mean, it's a proper the USL show Equinox. It happened. It was fun.
I still watch them every now and then, but yeah.
Hey, look, there's a whole lot to get to today. We had some kind of announcements come through with just kind of teams joining in, where we saw that Fort Lauderdale was officially announced on League One, but I think we already talked about that one at some point. We also saw that New Jersey is being announced as a USL destination, and Central Florida is being announced as a destination about a week after we discussed Fort Myers being called off as a destination. Alex, you have the expansion tracker going at all times. So what say you with all this news?
Yeah, Winter Garden is an interesting one. It's another foray into MLS's backyard, right outside of Orlando. It's announced intent, so it's not an official. They're not, you don't know when they're joining. It's just it's one of those things where they're in development, but they seem to have a lot of high-profile moneyed investors, and then they're doing their usual USL Papadakis real estate special with the hotel room, the retail, public parks, walking trail, commercial space, 5,000 seat multi-purpose stadium with practice fields, pickleball, the whole 9 yards. Very ambitious plan, but it'll add another crown in the Florida jewel for USL if it happens.
Honestly, we can make bingo cards based off of every thing that each team that announces an expansion have a checklist to do. Like, the stadium, or do the hotel, the mixed use development, and everything.
Development. That's the key there.
That's the buzzword. But no, what I do find interesting is that USL is still going into a lot of these markets that are considered like an MLS backyard or something that has an MLS team within a very close distance. There, you're seeing that with Central New Jersey. I know they've had a lot of tradition within USL, but that's fairly split between Philadelphia Union and New York Red Bulls. Going into Orlando's backyard as well is interesting. And it makes me curious if future developments with any other yet to be announced or any other planned expansion teams are going to kind of track after a lot of other MLS places that could be, I guess, ripe for the taking, or it could very well hold a lot more teams in the area. I think it's interesting. You're going to see that kind of like with how Westchester is like relative to NYCFC right now. So yeah, these are both kind of just very interesting developments.
Yeah, there's another one with intent in Pico Rivera, California, which is right outside of downtown LA, just 11 miles from where LAFC play.
There's a lot of announcements, and to quote several USL owners, GMs, players. The USL loves to announce things. It's their favorite thing. And I said that on Soccer Down Here today. And the one thing that I've come to is I don't think it's real until you announce a player. Because like Santa Barbara announced all the things, but are we 100% sure Santa Barbara's happening? Like, kinda.
I'm more sure this year than last year or the year before, and more than the year before. But yeah, you're right. You never can tell until they start announcing the technical staff at least.
For me, it's when a ball is kicked.
And we were a little worried about Texoma after they had, and they made it happen, but we were a little worried about Texoma even after they announced their technical staff.
It's true. I mean, that was one of the things. That was one of the things that I said earlier. I was just like, man, until I see a player announced, I just don't believe it's real. I'm most interested in the jersey one because, friend of the show, we interviewed him 2 years ago, Ira Jersey, a part of Real Central New Jersey, not Real Central New Jersey. He's publicly stated that they are going pro, that they specifically, he has mentioned League One. If New Jersey is League One, I mean, I don't know how the media markets work for New Jersey. I don't know. I don't know how they divvy.
They are different. He's closer. Okay. He's in the Princeton area, so they're closer to Philadelphia than New York.
Okay. All right. Ryan?
I mean, it would further help kind of fill out this New England area, if you will. I know you're getting kind of more into the Mid-Atlantic there, but when you have Portland up there, when you have Westchester, you're adding more teams into USL 1, and that I think really helps kind of like fill out all the numbers.
Good to know. As we do get a confirmation that Santa Barbara is happening. So,
thanks,
Miles, DM us on either Instagram or Twitter, or email us. You can find our email pretty easily, so please reach out. So there's that. There was also some pretty big news. I say big news. It's just news that made me happy. Cameron Lancaster is returning to Louisville City. I mean, I don't know how much he's going to play. Obviously, Goodrum seems to be down with an injury that's a little bit more serious than I guess we thought. Gleedle, apparently there's some injury concerns. But even if Lancaster only gets 10 minutes every other game, it's a standing ovation every time. And really all is right in the USL world.
Yeah, and Lexington is just doing Lexington things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Lancaster's fourth spell at Louisville, and the second time he's been sent there on loan because he was there from Nashville and there from Lexington. But yeah, it's a really interesting kind of move just from Lexington's perspective of like, okay, I guess, sure, you can make the change. Sorry, I'm trying to find when they'll actually... Yeah, July 26th is when Louisville will play Lexington, and unless they put the clause in that they can't play against the parent club, wouldn't it just be peak Lexington that Lancaster would score against Lexington? I have to think the clause is there, but like, you never know.
USL teams don't really do the can't play against the parent club clause. I don't think most of them care. Just to be honest, for me, I'm looking at the first league match being against Tampa Bay, and purely because the narrative said so, he's going to score a hat trick. The narrative said it. Like,
oh, Tampa Bay, we love you.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It just seems right for Goodrum. Yikes. Lancaster to be there. I am just happy that he has returned, and it felt like the right spot. I know there was looking at the Reddit threads, there was somebody who basically asked the question, why would they send him on loan? Most of the time, loans are there for a player to get minutes and get development. when you're looking at a guy who has like ACL tears, who's been in the league for a long time and in his 30s, he's not there for development or minutes. They're just trying to make room on the roster because Lexington, for the life of them, cannot stop signing players. They just cannot help it. They are midnight online shopping, and they just have no self-control. And they have to make room for players somehow. And, I think when you're looking on the list of players, Lancaster probably being the obvious one in strikers still, though they can't really find a way to score. But we'll talk about them later more in depth. But even so, it's a very correct move for me.
167 appearances for Louisville all time. He'll be able to at least kind of start closing the gap in on the top 5. Brian Omey is 191. Oscar Jimenez is 192, kind of in front of him. But what will be something that I think he could surpass depending on appearances is he's currently sitting at 9,500 minutes played for Louisville. So it's not unheard of that he could get a little under 500 minutes left on the year to play 10,000 minutes for Louisville City.
It sounds like he really likes Louisville too.
Yeah. And also his stat from, I believe, is our friend Nicholas Murray. With just one more goal, he would tie Nico Brett for the second most goals in league history. That would put him second behind the illustrious Dane Kelly, which I'm just going to go put on the Dane Kelly highlights as soon as the show's over. So that'll be fun.
If he gets 16 more goals, he'll surpass 100 with Louisville.
That's so crazy. Hey, how about we do a little transition to the Super League? Again, shameless plug. If you didn't see it, Amanda Vandervoort, we talked to her earlier. But one thing we talked about is the playoff race. And I'm sorry, Lexington and DC Power, you guys have been eliminated. So we're not really going to talk about y'all's match, because the interesting bit is Dallas Trinity at home versus Carolina Sense. Carolina Sense are already your Players' Shield winners. They are going to be home field advantage all the way out. Dallas Trinity, they have to win to get in. Fort Lauderdale versus Spokane, if you win, you are in. It is an insane just kind of head-to-head. And someone might correct me if I'm wrong on that. Maybe it's not a win in your id for one of them. I think it's Dallas who's sitting on the outside and are relying on other people. But it is an insane kind of lineup that we have going on here, where we're kind of asking the question, is Carolina going to sit their starters, maybe call up some of the Trailblazers, which is the players for their 2 team, which awesome name for your 2 team, by the way. But they might call some Trailblazers, give them some of their first minutes as a professional, maybe under the academy name though. Or are they going to try to stay hot, try to stay clicking, and take on a Dallas team who is fighting for the playoffs, maybe try to play a spoiler? What do y'all think about that one?
It would certainly work well for Dallas if they rested a lot of people, and not so much well for Spokane and Fort Lauderdale. Because I think Dallas, if they win and Spokane and Fort Lauderdale draw, Dallas is in.
Yep. Yes, that would, if I'm looking at that right, yes, that is correct. Ryan, what about you? Like, this is kind of going into predictions. Like, we are already kind of talking about what it's going to be. Like, do you think that Carolina should rest their players to make sure that nobody of importance gets injured for no good reason?
I could certainly see that. They've already wrapped up the regular season title. Your focus is on the playoffs. That's what is technically winning the league trophy, despite us saying that the league title has been won already by Carolina. But the interesting dilemma that I think I see with this is you could almost, like, if you're the Ascent, you could almost like pick your first round opponent based off of how you want to approach this game. If you want that to be Dallas, perchance, yeah, you could play a more inexperienced lineup. You can rotate the players and do everything you can to help Dallas get into the playoffs and have them potentially be that 4 seed that you would match up against. Or you could say, we're going to go out there and play with the full momentum, and whatever happens just happens, and just know that it's still kind of out of Dallas's own hands, that they could win and still end up as the 3 seed. And you probably don't want to be drawing either Spokane or Fort Lauderdale as the 4 seed, especially if that's Spokane in that instance. So I think it's really interesting that once you start getting into kind of the game theory of it all, that it almost becomes Carolina should just go out and just play their own game, and just however the chips fall on the final day is just how it ends up.
Yeah, they have an even split with Dallas this season, 1-1-1.
Alex, let me ask you, because Ryan did give us a game theory. And so we have, what would you do? Because like you saw Union Omaha 2 years ago go off, what was it, 18 unbeaten, like just would never lose again. They get a bye week and they lose immediately. Like they did it last year too, where granted they had a lot of off the field stuff going on. They get a bye week. Richmond almost sneak up on them. And this is not to be putting down on Union Omaha, but we're talking about really good teams, easily the best teams in the league, getting a pseudo bye week or a real bye week. And they come out slow and rusty. Would you rest your players on the chance of them coming back just not in match form?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm looking at the head-to-head opponent for the other as well, and looks like, yeah, I don't know. That's why I don't. That's why I do podcasting for free, and I don't get paid to coach. But yeah, I think I would. I think I would rest a few players in this scenario, and then go all in for the playoffs. It was a little risky for Omaha last year, but they got it done. They are the better team. I think Carolina has proven to be the better the better team in the league here, especially as the season draws to a close. So yeah, I think I would rest a few players.
If you're looking at Fort Lauderdale and Spokane, the worst case scenario for those two teams is a draw. I mean, one of them losing is the worst case, but a draw is the worst case, because if Dallas somehow manages to win
or draw, I think if Dallas draws and they draw based on the tiebreaker, I believe Dallas would be in. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah. Yes. So if one team loses and Dallas draws, Dallas is in. So a draw and Dallas wins, somebody's out. When we're looking at this Fort Lauderdale Spokane match, how would you manage this? You obviously have to go for it, because if you lose, there is a solid chance that you're missing the playoffs. Like if you lose, there is what we'll always say, probably 50, 60, possibly even 70% chance you're not in, depending on what Carolina does. You're having to go for everything. This is your season. Forget about the playoffs. Are we about to see two of the most attacking teams go at each other and really go for it? Or are we going to see kind of what we see whenever we see 1 versus 2 in a lot of leagues, where both teams hunker down and try not to concede because no one wants to win. They just try not to lose.
It's a must win, I think. I think they should treat it like a playoff must win. Yeah. Go all in.
I think what's going to be, excuse me, I think what's going to be very interesting is the fact that this Dallas match kicks off 1 hour prior to the Spokane Fort Lauderdale. So they may know about 2 hours ahead of time if Carolina is going to be playing a top lineup or not. And by the time their match kicks off, they may already know if Dallas has a chance to get in, because that game will be coming out of the first half, will be going into the second half. And yes, Spokane Fort Lauderdale may already kind of know the status of their game as they kind of move into their first half of play. Although I will say, I hope in future seasons we actually do get like a proper decision day, quote unquote, and have all the games just start at the same time. Even if it stretches the time zones, just find a way to make it work out roughly.
Are we going to get a Berhalter 1-1 moment? Like, That would be insane. I mean, look, we're going to see. I've talked about Ekich so much. I think she is the best player in the league. But then you also see Addie McCain and Jasmine Hamid. You see extremely talented players on both sides of this matchup. There are incredible players on both sides. And no matter what, Dallas, Spokane, or Fort Lauderdale, there is going to be a really good team that has a chance to win the playoff title that's going to be left out. And it's the beauty of having the playoffs as it is, because the playoffs start today or whenever the match is, Saturday. But that's when the playoffs start. It does not matter. Whoever's in, like whoever wins, you're in. The playoffs have already started. You got your playing game. I mean, what are we thinking for this? I mean, if you're looking pure firepower, you kind of have to say Fort Lauderdale may have it. But when we're talking about possibly the best player in the league, that's Spokane, and an incredible system to go with it. What are we thinking?
If we're diving into predictions, I think I'm going to back Spokane to get a win, but Dallas and Carolina to end in a draw.
Ooh, okay. So if Dallas draws and who wins?
Spokane.
Spokane's in.
Spokane will be in. Where would that put Fort Lauderdale?
I think out.
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with Ryan here. I'm gonna go with the draw in the Dallas and Carolina game. With a Spokane win over Fort Lauderdale.
So you both have Fort Lauderdale out. The Golden Boot leader, I do believe, still in McCain out. Locklear out. Like you guys are saying that. Oh man. There's a part of me that thinks that the Ascent are going to win and all this is rendered like a moot point. But I'm really hoping Dallas gets a result and we see absolute carnage in this upcoming match. I think that Dallas is going to win and it's not going to matter. And I also think that Spokane's going to win. But I am actively rooting for Dallas to get some kind of result, and we just have absolute cinema in Fort Lauderdale. Or Spokane. Where is it? Oh, Spokane. Sorry. That's what I'm rooting for.
We got to go back on the tiebreakers too. If this is if Ryan and I scenario is in, because head to head regular season, if it comes down to either Dallas or Fort Lauderdale, they're 1-1-1. So it would go down to goal differential, which Dallas is in.
I love this league.
What a wild season.
Welcome to the first one. I don't know how they're going to be able to beat this, but this is awesome.
Good job, scriptwriters.
We can get down to playoff spots being determined by a lottery conducted by the league.
Or
the coin toss like they got in Friday Night Lights.
Oh man, could you imagine somebody got or it wouldn't have been because we only had the 2 red cards, so somebody got a dumb yellow card for time wasting, and that's the reason that they got left out of the playoffs. They're time wasting to keep a draw, and that's the reason they're out.
Something to consider in the back of your mind when you're wasting time.
Oh man. I do hate it for DC Power and Lexington. DC Power has vastly improved since the spring split. They've gotten a lot better. Lexington, I feel like after this year, they had a lot of chaos going on off the field. Just like coaching changes, and some of the best players just always seem to be on international break. I feel like they'll be doing okay next year, and then you're looking at a Brooklyn team who they already finished their season. But sorry to DC and Lexington about not talking about y'all too much. Really hate it for you. But, man, this playoff scenario, we just had to break it down. It's just so good. So good. Are we good on Super League Convo? Are we ready to go to League One?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's do a little transition to League One as I try to pull up the correct video, and here we go.
Chattanooga is remarkable because of the way they can turn a defensive structure into quick chances. Here you see the shape of their 5-4-1, 3-4-3-ish press, but note the way it protects the field on multiple levels. The arrangement of the forwards denies central progression towards that midfield zone, while the compression of the back line makes it hard to penetrate between the lines. Here, that means Tormenta has to reset. Eventually, they're going to go frustrated, as many opponents of the Red Wolves do. But as soon as Chattanooga gets back on the ball, they're breaking up field. Al-Hassan is making a run up into the final third as soon as he eyes space. Pedro Hernandez is following up, and it's a game-winning goal. This is Scott McKenzie ball at its best.
Well said.
And it is absolutely going at its best because Chattanooga finds himself sitting in third. Turns out that Eamon Zaya guy was pretty smart because he told us to watch out for the Red Wolves in our preseason matchup, and I scoffed because I thought there's no way anybody on this team could muster up anything higher than second to last. Boy, is Scott McKenzie just awesome at building these dirty, defensive, just very structured teams. And this is a Tormenta team that early on, they were scoring goals. They were fun. They had a lot going on. They had defensive deficiencies, but that's why they and Richmond were in the middle of every single chaos match ever. That if you were turned on a Tormenta or Richmond match, they were going to score 2 to 5 goals, and they were going to give in 2 to 5 goals. Tormenta was not able to break down this Richmond team. This Chattanooga team. They get 1 goal, but that's it. This has been a very structured Chattanooga squad where, Alex, I'm just going to ask you, can they keep getting away with this?
You know, I keep hesitating to say yes, that it can be sustained through a long season. Is the depth that strong? It's not as bad as we thought. The defense, as long as the defense remains healthy, Declan Waters, I think he's one of the best center backs in the league. He was last year as well. He was like one of the bright spots on that team last year. Eric Knenzer, he's outstanding. I'm feeling better about Chattanooga by the day, and I was also one of the ones who had them second to last in my preseason predictions. Now I just want to point out that, to be fair, in this match, it should have been a draw.
With Bazzini.
Bazzini did miss that penalty kick, unfortunately. But yeah, the Scott McKenzie ball, that Pedro Hernandez goal was just that's what you expect when you watch Chattanooga right now.
What I'm going to be very interested in how the Chattanooga Burnley FC Red Wolves are going to do against this next match against Madison is they haven't won 3 games in a row against USL 1 opposition since September 2020 when Tenet was in movie theaters. Like, the last time they've won back-to-back games against USL 1 opposition was September 2023. Like, this has been quite a long time since we've seen a Chattanooga team be consistently good.
Yeah, they're not in our predictions this week, but I think that one is probably there. I don't think they're going to win that one, but I also don't think they're going to lose it. I think it's a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw.
Well, it is.
I would almost bet on it.
So somebody has to win.
It's also Madison.
It's also but
a Madison team who's
has
drawn their last 5 in a row. Yeah. That's a USL 1 record, I believe.
Yeah.
There's a lot to break down on that one. I mean, if it goes to penalties, do you not back Chattanooga at this point?
Oh,
They've been in all of them.
Absolutely.
When you're looking at this Tormenta squad, though, Alex, for me, I just find myself saying they keep making the same old mistakes that they did last year. Because when I look at the names on the roster, I think they're a really good team. And I think Ian Cameron's a really good coach. And I never understand why it doesn't work, because I believe in every single part of the project except for when they step on the field.
Yeah, I think he has acknowledged this week that there is a little bit of a reset coming with this roster, shuffling things around. But I think there will also be the second one this season. Do we see Sebastian Vivas step back in? He struggled early on this season. You're right. Like you look at the names on this roster, and they should be playing at a much higher level than they are right now.
And if you're looking at Tormenta's next match, it's coming up against another team that's arguably looking for a win, honestly, probably more desperately than Tormenta is, with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. That could provide a very good chance to have either a reset match, or you're going to have the loser of that game kind of wondering, it's like, well, where do we go from here?
By the way, Alex, to kind of go to your point about the reset, I want to read a quote that comes from a good friend, Luke Martin, where he said, and this is the full quote: "It's easier to counterattack. It's easier to create chances that way. And we've got to have a wholesale look at if our game model is the right thing." Cameron said following the match, "I've been pretty strident in the last few years that it is. I've been trying to teach the boys to control the ball, have a high percentage of possession, but the reality is at this level, you see it across the board, that when teams have 68% plus possession, I think tonight was 75%, then they rarely win at this level, and it's really frustrating, and it's a real challenge." Cameron said that he and his staff will need to evaluate going forward the right approach to win games as they try to put it into the losing skid. As a staff, we need to reassess and say, is that methodology the right methodology? Do we need to be brave in this moment and stick with it and just get better, or do we need to do a wholesale adaptations? Thank you to Luke Martin, who does amazing work with Storm Chaser, just incredible content out Tormenta. So thank you, Luke, for that. But I think that's a fascinating proposition of Cameron has said that over years now, they've seen that teams who maintain possession don't win in this league. Yet he's been very hard-headed in trying to hold possession and play beautiful, pretty football. And he has the players to do it, but it just simply doesn't work. I mean, look at Chattanooga. I mean, Ryan made the Burnley. I mean, Scott McKenzie is Sean Dyche, right? And that's what I heard preseason, is that Chattanooga is going to play Dyche ball. They're doing it. What does that say to you, Alex, that Cameron's assessed the problem for years now and refused to fix it?
Yeah. There, is a reckoning coming? Doubtful. I don't see them doing anything with Cameron midseason, especially with Tormenta's, But yeah, I mean, like, what do you do about that? Besides change, and if you've gone this long and haven't changed, you've got the pieces, you've got the awareness. I think we do need to see, some major shakeups in the way he forms that roster, because 76% possession and you have one shot on target, not working.
Yeah. Well, let's move on, Ron, unless you have something to say about this one. I want to go on to Westchester and Richmond, probably the most exciting match that we got, because Westchester, baby, you did it again. It's 2-0. We're riding high. We're having a great time at home. And then Darwin Espinal gets a goal. And then 1 minute after halftime, Richmond gets another goal. And it's 2-2. You've blown another lead. You're so excited about what you did, and you blow another lead. Alex, obviously, this is your club. You know everything that's going on with Richmond. We've really talked about how Richmond has arguably the best attack in the league, but they kind of ship goals for fun at times. Westchester's entering the same conversation of they are really good going forward right now, but they refuse to hold on to a lead. Is this just two great attacks with two middling defenses, or should we give a lot more credit to Richmond for coming back?
I do think Richmond deserves some credit for coming back. This is a Richmond team that was playing Tormenta ball last year, heavy on the possession and getting burned in the transition a lot. And this year they've kind of flipped the script, and they're the ones doing the burning. And should they have given up those early goals? Yeah, I don't know. Like Westchester they also have a relentless offense, and a leaky defense. So I mean, like, you look at these two teams that they've played twice now, 12 goals in 2 matches, 4-4, 2-2. They're I think they're two very evenly matched teams here.
Ryan?
I will say them going up the 2 goals and then conceding one all in the first half hour, cashed over 2.5 goals, fairly easy for this one. But if you're looking at it from Westchester's perspective, not being able to hold a lead has cost them points. The last 4 games that they've played, they've scored first and had to basically settle for either a draw or they lost. Like, if you add in those points back, like, they could be potentially sitting as high as 4th in the league right now. And yet here we are kind of through the first kind of quarter of the year, and they're second bottom right now with only Omaha beneath them. It's something that they need to get figured out kind of moving forward, because this is a fun team to watch try and attack. They scored multiple goals in numerous games this year, but their defense has let them down.
Alex, we talked a lot about Richmond this year. Everybody knows that I'm a believer in what they're doing. I think that they're one of, if not the most fun team to watch. I didn't say best team, I said fun, because every matchup they're in is going to be a high-scoring affair, and it's going to be a great time, and their attack is real, and the pieces that they have are fun. But I want to ask you about Westchester. As a new club, they are a new club in the end. Do you think they have a bit of that gumption? Do you think they have it in them to come back from this deficit? Because they have experienced players, but the club itself is new. Or do you think that this is just a lost cause of a year? They just have to accept that even though they have talented players, it just didn't happen this year.
I would absolutely not say it's a lost cause for Westchester, given the level of talent and given Dave Carton's tutelage under Mike Jeffries in Charlotte. Yeah, it's not a lost cause. I do think that they're gonna bounce back very quickly over the next few weeks. They know what they need to do, and they've got the talent.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on really fast, unless Ryan has something for this one.
I want to give one. Sorry, can I give one last thing on this match? Matt Bolduc scored that goal. This is a guy who last year this time was watching the games with the Red Army in the breweries as a free agent. Spent last year just training, training his ass off, and came back into the league as a pro, and scored this goal. It was a great moment for Richmond and for all the fans who just absolutely exploded at the watch party when that happened. He's very well loved in the city. He never really left it when he left Richmond and went to Nisa for that 1 year. He still called Richmond home and would show up at the games. Like, he's one of us.
That's awesome to hear. That's really cool to hear. I want to give a shout out, because we're not going to talk about you today, but shout out to the Double Birds for going on allegedly a winning streak. 2 is a streak over Greenville. We can talk about Greenville maybe later in our open floor, but shout out to the Double Birds. But I want to talk about Union Omaha versus FC Naples. FC Naples has come out as one of the best teams in the league. They have shown to be stout. They can take down some of the best in the championship, a la Charleston and the Jägermeister. But if you are a neutral, or you're someone who doesn't follow League One, you're probably looking at Omaha and saying, oh my gosh, what's going on there? Like, what is happening? They're the best team ever. How could they possibly be rock bottom? Alex, they lose 3-1. Are you worried about Union Omaha.
It's not the first time this has happened with Omaha. Starting on a down slide and then bouncing right back and going on a massive lossless streak. But yeah, I mean, they need to score goals. They have some obvious holes in their roster from free agents and some pretty major injuries. They trying to replace Luca Mastrantonio and Pedro de la Bella and Steven Dos Santos, Lagos Kunga, Blake Malone. I mean, it's just those are some big shoes. And, I like we said earlier, I think this is also a team that has the pieces and the coaching to get it back together. Is this rock bottom? I mean, this could be rock bottom right now, and then it's only up from here. But then you're playing in Naples is tough for anybody except for Naples. They just dominate at home. They haven't done so hot on the road, but that's a tough environment for every team in the league that's been there so far.
Would it almost be a fair assessment to say that Omaha, over these last 3 games that they've played, the 2-2 against Portland, the loss against Texoma, and the loss against Naples, that Omaha's been getting kind of FM'd, if you will, because they had 71% possession against Naples in their defeat. They had 62 against Texoma. They had 65 against Portland, and still weren't able to generate 3 points out of that. It seems like they've been almost getting more unlucky than a team typically should.
I think from what I'm seeing is a team that, and I don't like to make it this simple, but where would they be with the Pedro de la Bella? How much different would it be? Joe Gallardo is still incredible, still one of the best players in the league. We haven't really seen what Prosper Kasim can be there yet. Sergio Aris hasn't really shown it yet. Aaron Gomez hasn't really shown it yet. Brandon Knapp is one of the best in the league. Max Schneider, one of the best in the league. You look at their back line and you think you like what you see in the back line, but it's a different team than you're used to seeing. And they lost a lot of talent. But in the end, you have the pieces, you have what's there. You think that you would like it. And I'm not worried. Alex, you mentioned it already. They only won, I think it was 3 of their first 13 in Dom Cachetta's first year. And then they never lost another game. They went 20 something unbeaten. They just refused to lose. This is a team that can just flip it on its head and say, nah, we're tired of losing. We'll just win now.
Yeah, the defense is what I think is a lot more worrying. I think the offense will probably figure it out, but the defense is a little bit, it's shaky and undisciplined. And rotate, and it's except for Brett Kallman, it seems to be kind of a rotating cast. I don't know. 12 goals conceded, giving up 1.7 per match. That's not a path to the playoffs.
Any final thoughts on this matchup? Well, let's go ahead and go over to the championship. Why don't we? So let's go ahead and go that way and hear from our good friend John, if I can pull up this video.
Looked vastly improved this weekend because of smart personnel changes that saw them use Nick Firmino in the central midfield in place of Speedy Williams. Here you see Lexington break out in their 3-4-3-ish shape, with Firmino towards the top of the screen, looping around the edge, pushing forward as striker Foster Ajago drops in to hold up play. Firmino is a great passer in space, and he identifies the fact that left winger Marcus Epps has switched places with Michael Adedokun streaking up the left channel. Because of that shift, there's space to play a through ball, and Lexington is able to move quickly. This is a level of pace we haven't often seen from Lexington, and even though they only got a draw, this felt like a major match for their progress.
Yeah, so I mean, we're seeing improvements out of Lexington. Hey, and you know what, Rowdies, I'm gonna give you some love too. You get a goal with Manuel Arteaga, and he scores in the 60th minute, 62nd minute, and it comes from an assist from Leo Fernandez, and all kind of feels right in the world. I want to give you a shout out because it was a good draw. They've had several of these at this point of just good draws. Speaking of Tampa Bay, sorry, this is a side note. I want to give a shout out to Forrest Lasso, who on social media kind of posted that he has gone almost a year sober now. And so he's talking about how it's really like changed his life and how he's really changing himself as a human. I would highly recommend that. Forrest Lasso, one of the notorious really good people of this league. So go show Forrest some love. Why don't you? But we see out of Tampa Bay, they get themselves a draw. But Lexington, like John mentioned, they actually were fast. And it sounds like a bad joke that the moment you remove Speedy, that they start going quicker. I don't know. There's a joke in there. But Nick Firmino has been apparently the secret sauce. They keep tinkering with this lineup because they have like 47 players to choose from. Eventually, they'll come across the right combination. And maybe this is the one that sticks.
Yeah, when we had entered this match, we had said this was very much the stoppable force v. the movable object. And it was going to be interesting to see how both teams kind of approach this game. I felt like a draw was kind of the inevitable outcome for when you have two teams that really need a win. It's the universe is going to collude and give both these teams a draw that it gives them some positives to look back on, something to kind of be happy about, but not entirely have everything fixed. I mean, you still had a Lexington team who produced 14 shots. They nearly doubled the number of shots that Tampa Bay had produced in the evening. So it slowly felt like they were getting something figured out. Well, I will say I do put Lexington on a little bit of upset alert when they play Charlotte this weekend in the Jägermeister Cup, and we'll have to see how Tampa Bay does in theirs. But yeah, if we're looking at this kind of in terms of the league, when you had the two teams at the bottom of each conference, the two teams at the bottom of my ELO ratings face off, a draw was probably a fair outcome.
Any final thoughts on this matchup? All right, I want to hit a little bit. Someone hit the music. Ben, if you're listening to it, find a circle and make the raccoon dance because boy, did Charleston go into Keyworth and they got a big win, a 3-1 win where Jay Chapman comes back. He gets a goal 2 minutes in, and you're thinking, is Keyworth going to do their thing? And Juan David Torres kind of shows off why he might be one of the top 3 players in this league. He makes Cal Jennings' job so easy. It is 1-1. At that point, Charleston was never looking back as the fail Caesar match of Ben Peterman goes back to Detroit City. Cal Jennings gets the second goal from MD Myers. He's doing somersaults on the field. He's having the time of his life. And then Juan David Torres gets the goal himself. Always fun to see Pearman go back into Detroit City. That's just a fun matchup in of itself. And I think that Cal Jennings is going to get the love, getting the brace and all that kind of stuff. But this is Juan David Torres' world, and we're just living in it.
Yeah, I mean, Charleston entering this match at plus odds to win was like the easiest kind of money line hit you could get from the weekend. But over against USL opposition, they've won 8 in a row now. This is not just the hottest team in USL. Nicholas Murray branded them as the hottest team in US soccer at the moment. And like to go into Keyworth with a statement of saying, we're going to get a win. This is the first time that someone has beaten Detroit at Keyworth since I think Tulsa did it midway through summer of last year. But this is the first time that they've had a defeat by 2 goals or more since Colorado Springs beat Detroit City at Keyworth in September 2023. Like, teams don't just rock up to this stadium and score multiple goals, much less walk away with victories. And for Charleston to do it with 3 goals and to look like they were in control for pretty much most of the match, this is a damn good football team.
They're playing for that premier promotion a season early. Another level.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So.
Also, just really quick, Jay Chapman comes back. And I want to just give a little bit of love to Detroit because they are the best free kick team in the league. I keep saying this all the time. Watch their set pieces. I think they may be my set piece tactics show this week. I should have done it earlier. I've been super busy with life, but they are so good. They are so good at set pieces. It's disgusting. Like, they are just so clever. And Jay Chapman comes back, and you saw what it meant for him to score. Detroit has it going. I really like what Danny Dichio's doing there. By the way, I saw him last week when they played Birmingham. Might be one of the most massive humans I've ever seen. Like, that is just a mountain of a man. Absolutely terrified me. Like, he could absolutely snap me in half. So I will only say good things about Detroit City because he scares me. But Charleston side, man, are they the best team in the league? Because I know Nicholas Murray did put it out there, the hottest team in the U.S., but that doesn't always mean the best. You know, you can have the conversation about New Mexico. They aren't as sexy. Like, we don't end up talking about them very much because they don't play very sexy all the time, but it is good. You have El Paso in that conversation. Louisville is still unbeaten. Loudon arguably has the most talented player in the league with Abacora. Is Charleston the best team in the league?
Of that group, they're going to be the most fun team to watch. Like, if you're just picking a weekend of teams to watch and you have one game, I would most likely pick Charleston. I think if you're going to watch their game against Greenville, you're going to see a Charleston Battery team that's going to absolutely kind of just run all over the Triumph. But it's interesting that you bring up some of these other teams because if you go back to March, I know a lot of teams have been different since then, but Louisville has beaten Charleston this year. That is one of Charleston's 2 defeats on the season. When they rematch again in August, I think that's going to be a very strong matchup that we're going to see for both teams. But yeah, like, if you we don't mention New Mexico or Louisville as much just because it's become the expectation that those teams win, and they do it in, I guess, the most standard way. Like, if you start every weekend and say Louisville is going to score 2 goals and get the win, yeah, like, more often than not, that's going to be what's going to happen.
Yeah. Alex, I know you're obviously the League One updater. You're not the championship updater. But from what you're seeing from a bird's eye view, you know, what do you kind of see from far away?
Yeah, I mean, as a neutral, when I'm picking out a championship match to watch when there's no League One matches on, I'm definitely going towards, I definitely gravitate towards a Charleston match if it's available out of all of these. They are a fun team to watch. I do think they are, they do seem like they're one of the best. They are the best in the league right now.
So by the way, you mentioned the Greenville match. I'm trying to make sure that isn't one of the predictions that you put on. No, it's not. Is there, I want to say this very politely because there's people that I really like within the Greenville organization, former co-host of the show, Gio Cañas, and one of my friends, he's there, Brandon is over there, and obviously just kind of people that I know and friendly with in the organization. I want to be careful with what I say, but if Charleston starts an A lineup and try to get the demons out from the FC Naples match, could this
There's
be
not a chance. Not a chance for Greenville. Yeah. I don't think. I also have. I also love those guys. And I hate to say this, but I don't think that Greenville stands a chance of anything with that match.
I think
You know,
Charleston does have to play a top lineup because they're currently rock bottom of the group after that Naples defeat. That if they don't walk away this weekend with 3 points, the odds of them advancing, especially if Naples can win against Miami, which wouldn't be unheard of, they would start looking slimmer. And this is an incredibly winnable competition for the Battery.
By the way, I'm going to drop a Andy King question. That Andy King always has just the most fun questions, to be fair. What was your team's best player from this weekend according to FOTMob? Just go ahead and drop that in the chat if you can find it. I can tell you from my personal club, it was Tyler Pasher. Tyler Pasher was the number one team for my club. So everybody kind of drop yours into the chat of who your top performer was according to the algorithm. So let's see. What else was on our docket to talk about for this one, Ryan? I can't find it. Orange County.
And
Yeah, Orange County and Colorado Springs. Andy, time to celebrate. Maybe the new kits are it. By the way, I don't want to be the person to ask for kits. I don't want to be that guy. But oh my god, it's so good. Their new kit with a hot air balloon, so good. It's awesome. But Orange County gets a big 3-1 win. They look like they are kind of back. Herrera back in goal for switchbacks after Abrams gets loaned back. And some people might point to the second yellow card for Fontana and say that could be it after he gets his goal. But it was already 2-1 at that point, right? The match was, if you were to take that out, the match was technically already sealed. Is this more of Orange County are kind of figuring out read back four by John Morsey, by the way, because he talks about the use of, oh my gosh, who was it? Benazakar. Read that. But is this more of an Orange County's figuring out they're getting healthy, they're doing what they do, or are we in serious, we're worried about Colorado Springs, the defending champions?
I mean, it does seem pretty common that both the championship and League One's reigning champions right now are off to very slow starts to open the year. One stat that I found interesting with Orange County is when they have scored the opening goal of a match this year, they still have yet to lose. But yeah, if you're looking at this from Colorado Springs perspectives, they have their win against Pittsburgh from last week, which was their first win in the league since March. But since then, they get a lot of games that are both teams to score. It seems like they're still struggling to get those 3 points across the line. And when you have El Paso and New Mexico as your next two games, one of those being the Jägermeister Cup match against El Paso away, it's getting to kind of a concerning level for me that I'm going to find my panic button and put it on the desk. But then you have two games in the middle of June against Oakland and Lexington after these next two that if they don't win those games, then yeah, I would be pressing the panic button.
Sorry, I'm in the middle of just laughing a little bit. I don't know who the league website accidentally has uploaded for Jonas Vigilberg's picture, but it's not him. I can tell you that. It is not him. That is not Jonas Vigilberg. If you go to the pictures, you'll know what I'm talking about. Who is that? Now it's going to bother me. Yeah, I don't know how I feel. I don't know where this team is at this point. Oh, I think it's supposed to be Herbert and Delhi. Yeah, maybe that's who it's supposed to be. That's not. Anyway, that's hilarious. But we all kind of saw that Colorado Springs brought back a lot of the same pieces, but they lost the key pieces and didn't truly replace them. I was worried about them coming into it, but I thought that maybe they had the magic sauce. I'm really worried about Colorado Springs. Really worried about them. Granted, they got their star last year. They have a year to kind of figure it out and say, okay, Like, whatever, it is what it is. But I'm extremely concerned on what's happening out in Colorado Springs.
And it's why it's so difficult to repeat as champions in this league. You haven't seen it since it was Louisville in 2017-18, and then Tampa Bay, who had, I know, the COVID year for repeating as conference champions. But it's a very challenging thing to do in the league. And as John has said in previous episodes, that there's not a bad team within this league, but there's a lot of parity in this league.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go ahead and hit a little bit of open floor, where I just want to go ahead and give a little bit of a Birmingham, like they get a win if Bill Hamid drops a ball at the feet of Ronaldo Damas. Like, okay, he's going to score that. It was a good second half. If the second half Legion team could come out every single week, they would be undefeated. If first half Legion come out every single week, they'll never win again. That's kind of where they are. And because he's not here, but I still want to give him some love and some happiness. Phil's El Paso, man, they just keep doing it. Derby del Camino Real is the top two teams in the West. That's so exciting. Like, we're going to see that Derby match maybe decide the West, and that's everything that I'm here for. Andy Cabrera is turning into an absolute stud, which, by the way, people, he's not Wilmer Cabrera Jr. He goes by Andy Cabrera. He's made that like very clear. I don't know whatever the league pushes out, or not league itself, but like the like Opta basically uses legal names. They don't take nicknames into consideration. So whatever your legal name is, that's just kind of what they go with. Andy is what he goes by. But Andy Cabrera has been a super stud, man. I mean, he gets 2 goals and it makes a difference. You see early Johnny Rodriguez, formerly of Oakland, gets a goal for Las Vegas, and El Paso kind of didn't care. It's been fun, man.
It makes me sad that they've already played New Mexico twice this year in the league, so there won't be another rematch for it unless they meet in the playoffs. But if you're going to start circling dates kind of later in the year, that will be really fun for El Paso. Is in September, they host Loudoun and they host Charleston.
Alex, do you have any open floor?
Yeah, we got a big match coming up tomorrow night. League One USL Championship after dark with Spokane and Monterey Bay. Should Monterey Bay be a little worried here?
Yes. I'm not going to do the haha, I told you so, because Monterey Bay is much better than I thought they would be. But boy, have they come crashing down to earth. They have come crashing back down to earth. Granted, I'm not going to talk about the most recent match because, I mean, Ryan, you mentioned it yourself. Lou City wakes up, they win 2-0, they go to bed. Like, that's just who Lou City is. If they're having a bad day, they might only win 2-1. I'm sorry. Like, that's just kind of what they do. But they haven't won in 5 matches. Or 6 matches, excuse me. Their last match against said Colorado Springs, who are fighting for their lives right now. I think that Monterey Bay, if they cannot score, if they cannot figure out how to put the ball in the back of the net, they're going to be in big trouble. Because while their defense has been solid, Guzman and Nico Gordon have been really good. Campuzano has been standing on his head. I still think that Nico Gordon is going to be my young player of the year. He's been that good, unless depending on how young Apokora is, of course. But they don't have goals in them. And do you know who does have goals in them? Spokane. They have a lot of goals in them.
Yeah, shout out to Andrew Martin at the Union Report, who wrote up a very good summary of why Monterey Bay should be worried from the Monterey Bay perspective. I think he kind of effectively made the argument that that Spokane has a good shot at taking this one.
I mean, if we're going to talk about a team that in Monterey Bay who haven't won in their last 6 games, Spokane has won their last 6 games across all competitions, and that includes beating Oakland as another USL Championship side in that part as well. If you're looking at it from Monterey Bay's perspective, they've been shut out 4 times in those previous 6 games, and the games that they've scored a goal in, they've scored first and then conceded, and so weren't able to hold on for the victory there. That I think Spokane has a really good chance on the road tomorrow. And if we're going to start like really looking at kind of the future standings of this, if Spokane can like go level on points with Las Vegas atop that group, we might be looking at our like USL 1 favorite to go the farthest in this competition.
Yeah, and Spokane goes deep too. Like that, the roster depth is just unreal. They're built to take on a team like Monterey Bay, I think.
Ryan, open floor for me. Do you have anything?
Just that I correctly called Texoma to score first against Greenville over the past weekend, and it's gonna. I guess I know we spoke on it a little bit earlier, but I'm still gonna kind of like go back to the drum that I am still a little worried about the Triumph this year.
I'm getting really worried about the Triumph this year. They're making moves, like impact moves, but they need to figure it out fast. For the Double Birds of Texoma, Avi Garcia had a heck of a last like 20, 30 minutes. He makes the big save where he's diving, palms it away. This is after he takes a collision and literally can't take a goal kick. Like he tries a goal kick, does not get more than 2 feet off the ground. Luckily goes straight to a Texoma player. The very next goal kick, outfield player takes the goal kick, and they keep passing the ball back to Avi Garcia. And every single time they would do it, the player would put his hand up and say, "I'm sorry, I know you can't kick a ball right now." Basically apologizing as he's passing the ball back as they are instructed to do. He was fighting for his life and was having to make big saves at the very end. And they had a couple of moments, Greenville did, but I mean, you cannot underestimate the amount of dog that is in Javi Garcia, because dude was absolutely going through it and kept his team in that match. So, how about some? Oh, Ryan, do you have something? Okay. Let's do some predictions. We're going to go ahead and let's stay in South Florida, where the Miami FC take on FC Naples, where Miami does fall 2-1 to Birmingham Legion, but maybe you could chalk that up to, a nice goal and Billamy dropping a ball at a good goal scorer versus FC Naples, who has been able to kill some giants in their own past and maybe have the sauce to beat a Miami team. Alex, who do you have?
It's an away match for Naples. And Miami is exceeding expectations this year. I'm gonna go with Miami.
Yeah, I wrestled with this one as well. I went back and forth. I'm gonna go with Miami, and I think they get it done on penalties.
I want to ask you guys a question before we get into it, and this is a mean question. I do love my friends at Miami, but we have seen FC Naples like have awesome attendances this year. And let me say this too: Miami does have decent attendances. They're just in a stadium way too big for them. If they were in a proper size stadium, it would not look so bad. But it is okay. Most of their fans sit on the camera side, so it looks awful. It's not actually that bad. But how likely is it that we're going to see a possible better Naples contingency than maybe a Miami, as this is Naples' closest away day this year of only 2 hours?
Yeah, I haven't heard any rumblings, but that does. I would expect that.
The European mind can't comprehend your nearest derby rival being 2 hours away.
2 hours away.
That's the Brighton Crystal Palace. Why are these two teams even rivals picture? Like, I think I'm taking Naples. I think that what they do defensively, what they're able to do counterattacking wise, Bonifilio is awesome. They have a lot of great players for Miami, but I do think that what Naples does can shut down what Miami does. Maybe it goes depends and it's a crapshoot, but I think I want to take Naples here. And then let's go down to AV Alta, where they have also slayed some giants themselves. They have won in the Open Cup. I do believe they won in the Jägermeister as well their last time out. Oakland, as we talked about before, fell to Spokane. Can Oakland right their Jägermeister wrongs, or is AV Alta going to slay another club above them?
The answer is no. Oakland will not win. It's going to be. I think this is a match that AV Alta is built to win.
Ryan?
Yeah, I've backed AV Alta in this one. I actually think they win it in 90. That Oakland seems like a team that's in free fall, and they've already lost to one USL one club already in this competition. That I need to see a lot more out of this Roots team before I start just kind of trusting them to get a result again. So I've backed AV Alta in 90.
See, here's where I'm torn. Oakland's had their moments of you believe in them, and it looks really good. Like, Oakland has looked really good this year, but so has AV Alta. The first result that came to my mind was Oakland and Pens, but I really don't believe that for a second. I think logically AV Alta is the right choice, but I'm going to go Oakland and penalties. I know it doesn't matter how they win. All that matters is that they win, but I think that's how it's going to go because that's what the top of my head said. So there's that. This was a fun show. If you have been on from the very beginning to watch the Amanda Vandervoort interview, you have been with us for an hour and 45 minutes. If you're someone who is just a normal podcast listener and you already listened to that episode already, or you're listening to it afterward, you've only been here for about an hour or so. So welcome. Hi. Thank you for joining along with us. Do you guys have any final USL thoughts on the night? Okay. Today has been like my podcasting day. I did semi-pro USL show this morning, and then soccer down here, the interview with Amanda, and then doing this one. I feel like I'm basically a modern day John Morrissey. Like that's just who I am now.
And you're on summer break.
And I'm on summer break.
So you can do
it. This is true.
Look at you go.
Look at me taking the best of my time, which is by making it as busy as I possibly can. How about some final thoughts from us, Ryan?
Yeah, I guess with I guess no more morning soccer, I'm trying to find other things to go and watch. I saw the Brutalist was made it to HBO, so I may kind of have that up in a few pieces, mainly because that's a 3-hour film to watch. And unfortunately, I can't find anywhere in Charlotte that's showing the Phoenician Scheme for Wes Anderson's new movie that comes out this weekend. So I need to find somewhere to watch that.
Alex?
Finished up another theater season over the weekend. We did mixed media show. It was pretty successful. The kids are very creative. And then today, me and the kid were binging that show Ghosts on Paramount, which is just a very fun show about ghosts haunting a mansion.
Awesome. Someone put into the chat, Andor, it hasn't been mentioned. If it hasn't been mentioned. Are y'all caught up? Or are y'all good?
I have not started.
All right. Let's see. I had something, but I totally lost it. It'll come back to me eventually. I am all for like the cooking network, like cooking channels, and like I get really into it. There is only one of the big personalities on like the Food Network that actually want to eat their food, and that is Manit. She has her own like cooking shows like Manit Eats, and it does like I just want to go to like drive to Nashville or wherever she makes her food, and I just want to eat it instantly. Like I see all the Bobby Flay, the Guy Fieri, and all the Iron Chefs, and I'm just like, yeah, that looks nice. But every time I watch her cook, I'm just like, I need it. So I might make my own personal foodie away day and just go like go to her restaurant because it just looks so good.
I dig that.
So, all right, people. I do believe if I'm trying to finish or get final up some details, we have another special episode for you next week. So you'll definitely want to be here for it. Check out the Semi-Pro USL Show every single morning at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kids Season comes out with their own thing. That's going to be coming out on Thursday. And tomorrow, their Kit Battle of the Week drops. So check that out on our socials. It's 2 really good ones. I'm big fans of them, of the Kit Battle of the Week this week. And I think that's all the shameless plugging that I want to have to do. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and for the first and final time of night, here's Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show.
The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see everyone again next time.